Hello, I'm Laura from Burns Pet Nutrition and I'm here today with vet and founder John Burns.
Hello, and I'm John Burns. Welcome to our little discussion on weight management in dogs especially, but pets in general. Well, I think at least 50% of dogs are overweight, but unfortunately 85% of pet owners don't recognise that fact.
Yeah, a lot of people don't think their dog is overweight and they don't want to believe it either, do they?
No, there's a big problem there, really. Excessive weight is a disease condition in its own right, but it's also an important factor in many other conditions such as diabetes, heart and circulatory problems,
joint problems as well.
Problems.
It's similar with humans as well, isn't it? Being overweight is linked to so many health problems, and sort of owners know more about human health often than their pet's health. So I think when you liken it to humans, they understand a bit more that, oh yeah, being overweight is really bad for health.
Shortens the animal's life.
Yeah.
They don't enjoy life as much, they become breathless easily, can't stand the heat. So lots of issues attached to that. Well, in a short-coated dog, once you'll be able to see the shape of the dog, the waist will go in. The dog should look like the shape of a dog, really.
Yeah.
You should be able to feel the ribs with not very much covering them other than skin.
Yeah.
Once you'll be able to feel the bones, although the bones shouldn't really be protruding.
I think people worry when they can feel the bones. We quite often get calls on the helpline and I'll say, oh, can you feel their ribs? Oh, no, you can't feel the ribs. And you say, well, you should be able to feel the ribs. And they think that's worrying if they can feel them.
Yes, I think you should be able to feel your ribs.
There's a method with your hands. So if you hold your hand flat, the back of your knuckles, that should be how easily you can feel the ribs, really. And if you can't feel them, like the palm of your hand, then that means they're overweight. So that's a nice way to show that you should easily be able to feel the ribs.
Whether it's a growing dog, puppy, or even an adult, people constantly worry, are they heavy enough?
Yeah.
And in fact, they should be worrying about you hardly ever see an underweight dog, really.
Yeah.
But especially with a growing dog, if you allow the puppy to be overweight, then you're in for a lifetime of excessive weight. So dealing with it as a puppy is
really
so important, isn't it?
Yeah. I think like people almost associate a lean dog with a welfare case, like an animal rescue RSPCA, but they see a fat dog and they don't worry about it as much, when actually it can actually be much worse for their health. Well,
there's this traditional idea, and it applies to babies too. Chubby means healthy.
Yeah.
In fact, the reverse is the case, isn't it?
Yeah, roly-poly puppies and...
Yes.
Yeah.
One can look at a chart and say a certain breed of dog should be a certain weight, but I'm not a great fan of that myself.
Yeah.
I think every dog is an individual and should be treated as such. So it's much more important to go on the feel and the shape of the dog than what the scales say. When you're trying to lose weight, yes, the scales are useful because that's a measure of how successful you're being when you're getting the weight down. I don't think one should rely on charts or standards for this.
Even within a litter they can vary so much, can't they? Litter mates can be so different.
Yeah. Every dog's an individual. Everybody sees their dog as an individual.
Yeah.
But when it comes to weight and feeding amounts, we tend to want to rely on a standard which isn't really appropriate in my view.
I think it's important to know what your dog weighs now, and then you know what you're starting from then. And then you can aim to maybe lose 1 or 2 kilos and go from there. Going to the vet can often give you an ideal weight for your dog.
Well, yes and no. That's where one should be getting advice. But a survey was done in veterinary practices, and despite the fact that the majority of dogs are overweight, hardly any vets raise the subject, which is a bit of a problem really. I can understand why, because if you embarrass the client, they may not want to come back to you.
It's like your child, isn't it? Your pet, so you don't want to be offended when someone says they're overweight, but it is important, so it needs to be discussed, doesn't it? It's better for their health in the long run.
If the vet recognised that your dog had kidney disease and didn't tell you, then that would be a serious matter. But that's what happens with excessive weight.
What about if someone in your friends or family, if their dog's overweight, do you think you should tell them?
Well, I don't know. It's so easy to criticise others, isn't it?
Yeah. Sometimes I just drop little hints if it's my friends and family. It's a bit more difficult to say, isn't it?
Sometimes I take the rather abrupt direction. I say to a pet owner, when is he starting? And they say, starting what? And I say, the diet. There's a shock therapy there, I think. Yeah,
Yeah, they're not going to ignore that. A lot of people think as they get older it's natural for dogs to gain the weight, but that's really when you need to start cutting the food back, isn't it? As they start to slow down, it's not normal for a dog just to get overweight just because it's older. As they start to slow down, that's when we move on to our senior unneutered feeding guides and start to cut their food back.
Yes, I think if the dog is kept slim and a trim weight, then they'll remain active for much longer.
Yeah. What about senior foods? Do you think as they get older and start to slow down, they need a senior food to stop them gaining the weight?
I'm not 100% in agreement with that, because I think that most foods which are classed as senior tend to have lower fat and protein levels than normal adult food. I think all foods, whether for normal or young adults or elderly adults, should have controlled levels of fat and protein. So the same food should do throughout life if it's properly formulated in the first case.
Yeah.
So I think I'm a wee bit out of line with the standard way of providing pet foods in general.
Thank you for watching. So if you stay tuned, we're going to have more videos on what to do if your dog is overweight. And if you need any advice, you can contact our nutrition helpline.